One moment, and we should be all
Sure.
good.
All right. Curtains up. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November meeting of Manhattan Community Board 4. My name is Jeffrey LeFrancois. I'm the chair of the meeting, the chair of the board, and happy to be bringing this meeting to order. We're here on Zoom this evening because of the mayor's executive order allowing for the public to meet virtually. The meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded. And of course, that's accessible after this meeting at any time by the public. Tonight, we have a presentation from the 13th Precinct, as well as a hearing on the Statement of District Needs and Budget Requests for the district by our second vice chair, and with comments from the public. As is our custom, we'll have our public session when members of the public who have signed up to speak in advance will be given the ability to do so during that session. And if you have not, please raise your hand using the raise hand function by 6:45 so we can add you to the queue. You'll find our agenda tonight online at mcb4.nyc. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our executive officer at the 13th Precinct, Officer Jeronimo. Is that? I apologize if that was a butchering.
Yes, it's Captain Jeronimo from the 13th.
Jeronimo, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I missed my M&I.
So I have been here for 6 months, and I'll start with the crime numbers for everyone. So for the 28-day period, which is approximately a month, we have most of the crimes have stabilized. Like with murder and rape, it's 0 versus 0 for comparing this year to last year. We are slightly up in assaults. We're up 1, so 20 versus 19. And then we're actually down in grand larcenies. It's 91 versus 97. And we're down in grand larceny autos, which is the vehicle. So it's 1 versus 3. And like I said, we've remained stabilized with robberies, 17 versus 17.
Thank you for that. There's been a lot of community meetings with the precincts, and we have a sliver of the 13th Precinct, and I'm not sure if there's anything you want to share just in terms of what you've been hearing at your community council meetings, or just a bit more color on sort of your on-the-ground stuff outside of the ComStat data.
Yes, so at the last meeting, we went through some homework. And some of the homework was on 27 and Broadway, the cars are illegally parked there, and that might contribute or have something to do with some of the quality of life infractions that are happening over there. So our traffic team is aware of it and has been out there monitoring the situation, issuing summonses and rectifying that situation. So we have been on top of that. And the second thing was similar area, 200 East 27 to 3rd Avenue. There was a lot of noise coming from a club that was there over there. So we have an officer, Demery, who's went there and spoken to them a couple of times in regards to the noise complaints and advised them to lower it. And, we'll stay and make sure that it actually is fulfilled. And then regarding the issue at PS 340, a lot of the parents were concerned because there was a delay with our response, but we actually responded immediately. Like we responded 2 minutes from receiving that call. So it was more of an issue with our communications division. So we have reached out to the communications division to see what they're doing about it. And we're awaiting the 911 audio dispatch and all the ICAD information that we requested, because we want to investigate, exactly why. Some of the reasons that we can conjecture are that it came over as 29 or 39 harassment, which perhaps the 911 call taker was thinking like, oh, this person is making a threat over the phone, and and why she classified it as that, and that might have been why it was delayed. But we're going to remain on top of that because we don't want that to happen again. And then as far as like other issues regarding I think it was 26 to 27, 7th to 6th Avenue. There's a church there that we confer with, and we're always working with them to address the homeless encampments that are there. And, he has a cleanup crew that's addressing it on, a weekly basis and a daily basis. So he wants to keep that area clean with his church. And all along 7th Avenue, we work with the BID unit, which is the Business Integrity Unit. And we do operations with them all along 7th Avenue, addressing the homeless encampments. And not really like, we don't just go to enforcement. Like, we try to offer them referrals and resources and where they can go for shelter and what have you, because that was another concern. Like, we don't think it's definitely an enforcement issue, but we'll try to help them.
Thank you for that. And just so folks are aware, PS 340 is the public school on 17th and 6th Avenue. And it was, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, there was an order to evacuate there. And there have been some concerns around that, just so folks are aware of the broader issue. Are there any questions for the executive officer? Just so everybody remembers, this is the 13th precinct, and they have a bit of Community Board 4. I want to say off the top of my head, it's 7th Avenue from 14th Street, and then as it concerns to us, to 26th Street, and then only one block east of there. So, executive officer, it's a very small portion of our district that you guys respond to, but it's always an important one because of the concern for how far away your precinct house is to where that edge of response needs to be. So if it's okay with you, I see 2 hands up, and I'd like to ask those folks for them to ask their questions. We'll start with Katie.
Great, thanks. Thanks for being here this evening. And I actually live in the 13th, so thank you for your work. Just a quick question. I know that you gave the statistics earlier for the 28 days this year compared to last year, but I've also seen that there can be sort of different numbers if you look back pre-COVID. And so I was wondering, and I don't know how to look it up, and I apologize for not being good with numbers, but is that something you would have sort of at your fingertips, like for this year, for the first 10 months of 2022 compared to 2019, or for this month compared to 2019? I'm just wondering sort of how those numbers look. Is it like the same, worse, better?
Well, pre-COVID, I would have to talk to you offline and give you that information, because we just have right here 22 versus 21, but I can get that to you immediately. And a lot of this is open source data, so we've become very transparent, which is good, so that people can access it just on the website.
Okay, I haven't learned how to do it, but I'll try. Okay,
but I'll definitely call you offline.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Renal?
Yeah, 2-part question. The numbers on grand larceny, is that still mostly shoplifting?
Shoplifting is driving it. So the majority are shoplifting situations, but we also have some, we have an issue in our clubs of, bags being left unattended and then someone taking it and, taking a credit card and using it. So that's another driver.
So the drop in that number, I know it's gone down from 97 to 91, you said. Do you think that's a trend, or is the drop because of something that's happened? Is it because the weather or something the NYPD is doing differently?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the deployment of our posts and where we're situated and what we're addressing at that moment. So we kind of apply predictive policing, and our crime analysis will have certain posts highlighted for the week. And then we will make sure that whichever relevant unit is assigned to that area has to do a certain amount of directed. So if, we're very high in robberies or shootings or what have you, we'll kind of move it where the crime is. So it might have to do with deployment. It might have to do with the weather, but we were driven by predictive policing.
But I'm assuming you've been using these models for a while now, right? So is this something that changed recently?
Well,
we should be
actually,
looking into the trend numbers.
I know a little bit more like institutional knowledge globally about the department because I used to work in the Office of Management Analysis and Planning. And so globally, like we've been using, we'll do our deployments and our staffing for every precinct based on, an algorithm of, what the crime is, what's the frequency of the jobs, if it's violent crime. So there's different formulas globally that we use. And then on a precinct level, we also deploy we have our own algorithm of, what is driving crime and what we have to refocus and which hours of the day need to be, a higher frequency.
Thank you.
All right, final question, Paul.
Thanks very much. And Jeronimo, thanks for being here with us. I want to follow up on Ronald's question about grand larceny and shoplifting. There have been discussions about sort of consolidating repeat offenders. So the people who go into a pharmacy and shoplift a minimal amount don't qualify for grand larceny. They don't get arrested, they don't get prosecuted. But those same people go from one pharmacy to another, to another, to another. So cumulatively, they may qualify as grand larceny, and thus they could be arrested and prosecuted. Has there been any effort within NYPD or within your precinct to track repeat offenders of minimal shoplifting efforts that we could build them up to grand larceny to get some of those people stopped?
Well, we're always tracking recidivists and we're always looking to see, where this person is repeating his crimes or her crimes. So that is definitely a part of our deployment and our crime plan. However, my understanding legislatively and legally, I'm also an attorney, you can't do that with crime. Like you can't combine petty larcenies and make it a grand larceny. So, but you can work with your legislators, and if they want to work on changing that, that would probably the best avenue for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Executive Officer Jeronimo, I thank you very much for joining us this evening and for this information. And of course, just being on the round. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All righty. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing regarding Community Board 4's statement of district needs and our budget requests for the 2024 fiscal year. Kind of scary to think 2024, but indeed it is for that fiscal year. And I'm going to pass it over to our second vice chair, Leslie Bogosian Murphy, to run this part of the meeting. Leslie?
Thank you, Jeffrey. I am running this part of the meeting because I am the chair of the budget task force who put together our statement of district needs and prioritized our capital and expense priority list. So this is a public hearing, as Jeffrey said, on our statement of district needs, which for the public or people who are listening in, it's where we identify the needs of our district brought to us by both members of the community and through our various committees on Community Board 4. We prioritize these needs in their respective groups and submit this list with explanation to the city, the relative agencies, our elected officials. And this is the responsibility of, like I said, the budget task force, which submitted documents for my fellow board members. They should be in your Dropbox. And they were recently voted through unanimously at executive committee. So in your Dropbox, you will find three main documents. The first document is the statement of district needs. And to those of you, just a summary who might not be too familiar. So this sets the narrative for our district. It includes a breakdown of our demographics, trends we're seeing in the district, priorities, what we see as quote unquote wins, which were asks that were granted, requests over the past year. And also really descriptions of what we identify as major issues of importance. And these are broken down into main categories, somewhat connected to our categories of committee, but sometimes not. It's mostly city categories. So and I'll give you an example of what we include to paint the picture of our community district for landscape. Some of the narrative or much of the narrative last year was COVID related, and some of the needs we needed for that. And that was reflected in some of the priority asks and issues. This year, we still needed COVID related. We had COVID related asks, but as you can see, if you look in your statement of district needs, which is a long, extensive document, we highlighted the most recent events of migrants and asylum seekers being aided and housed in our district. So it's just one example of how we kind of paint the landscape of what our district needs, and then prioritize those needs. The second thing out of the three main documents in the Dropbox is going to be a list for, excuse me, capital expenses, capital requests. And the third is our priority list for expense requests. One note that Jesse and I were talking about, if you're looking at the statement of district needs, just look at the narratives. There'll be an overview. There'll be like trends we're seeing. Don't look at the capital and expense priorities on that document because that's from last year, so it might be confusing. This is for formatting reasons. Just if you look at the separate Dropbox numbers, I forget what numbers it is, but it's capital requests and expense requests. So those will be for this year. So I know it's a little confusing, but just FYI. Let's see, like last year, we sent out a survey asking people what is important for our neighborhoods and what we as a community board representing them should concentrate on. We had about 230 responses, and really the results were similar to last year. Most all the respondents lived in our community board district. Some both lived and worked in the district. And just to give you a quick breakdown, the top concern by far was public safety. About 1 in 3 people cited public safety as their number one issue in the district, which is really not surprising. We saw the same thing last year. And some of the comments were a call for more beat cops, greater police presence in general, more funding for foot patrol, which, as you see, is reflected as it was last year. It's pretty much identical in our priority asks. The second, I guess, issue was affordability and affordable housing. And then the third, and there's a big drop, really, we're talking 12, 10%, something like that, was quality of life and garbage and sanitation. So those are our top 3. So if you look at what Community Board 4 is listing as the top 3 important issues or priorities in our statement of district needs and budget request items, that's how it's going. It's going 1, 2, 3. So we used this survey to frame our discussion, but really it was just a useful reference to prioritize our asks. The budget task force deferred heavily to each committee, their submissions, which all you guys I know worked on in your respective committees. And we really found no conflict with the findings of our survey and what this board and our committees have been hearing really all year long. So if you see, there are a few new asks, but most of the asks that were not granted are pretty much in the same priority order. There have been some shifting around, but we injected the new asks, but it's very similar to last year. I just want to make some notes before I take some questions, or if there's anyone in the public who wants to comment or ask a question. The one thing that still needs to be complete, you'll see it in blue in the statement of district needs, is what we call the wins. They're incomplete because some are half wins. We're still trying to track down some agencies about what exactly they are funding that we count as wins. The survey I mentioned is also in the Dropbox if you guys are interested in looking at the breakdown of numbers. And there are some, I know some people are going to say there are typos in here, and please, yes, send typo corrections, but some of that, if you can recognize, is a formatting issue. I just wanted to give a little sticker on that. So I do want to, this is, as you guys know, it's a pretty big undertaking. I want to thank, we have a high school intern for this who compiled all the responses for our survey. And I want to thank him, Parasha Gurum. Thank you for that. And also, of course, to the budget task force and Jesse, who is a wizard at putting all this together. It's a long and complicated document, but he's also such good guidance on this. But if anyone has any questions, comments, I would love to answer them, or Jeffrey would answer them, or someone else from the respective committee and ask will answer them as well.
I don't think we have any members of the public signed up. And in terms of board discussion, that will come up later in the meeting under our executive committee portion of the agenda.
Great, thanks, Jeffrey.
Sure. So I just am double checking on my tabs, but we do not have any members of the public signed up to speak on the budget task force. So, and I don't see any hands either from the public, that is. So Leslie, thank you for doing the corralling and compiling of the work. That is the chair of the budget task force, and for putting this document together and driving our interests with the city forward. So thank you for this.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
So next up on our agenda is our general public session, which I'm going to pass over to our first vice chair, Jessica Chait. Jessica?
Great, thank you, Jeffrey. Good evening, everyone. We have 8 people who have signed up for the public session. As a reminder for those who care to speak at future opportunities, future board meetings, the link is made available ahead of the meeting. We encourage you to sign up, and you are given 2 minutes to speak on the topic of your choosing. So Jesse, if we can start with Michelle Zalapani and Peter Levinson. And
Peter's being brought over now. Michelle, I don't believe is signed in yet.
Great. Okay, and then we'll do Carrie B if Carrie is available.
Carrie B is available, and she's coming over now as well. Folks, from the attendees section, if you have signed up, you need to accept when I ask you to come over as a panelist.
Great. So Peter, we're going to start with you, and as a reminder, we do 2 minutes and we on the clock. So when you hear the bell, please be prepared to wrap up. Peter?
Peter, you have to unmute.
I don't see Peter on my, do you see him, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm going to ask him to come over again. He didn't accept the first time. Hold on, I'm bringing him over again.
Okay.
You maybe want to go to.
I was going to say Bobby. We had Bobby, but I see Bobby just also left his seat.
Is Carrie? I brought over Carrie as well. Is Carrie?
Bobby, back? Are you back? Okay, great. Bobby, if it's okay, we'll start with you. And,
yes.
And 2 minutes starts now.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time. My name is Bobby Vangelatos. I'm the center manager at the Chelsea Recreation Center. I just wanted to talk about a few events we have this month. This Saturday, November 5th, we're partnering with the DR Art Foundation, and we're going to have an artist by the name of Johan Diedrich. He's going to be doing a temporary sound installation in our basketball court. So participants are going to be invited in the basketball court, absent of athletes, but filled with previously recorded sounds of scrimmages, voices, dribbling, and the artist is going to be doing a live mixing of the recordings into a sonic experience of the site. So it's something we're trying for the first time. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out, but it does sound interesting. So everyone's invited to all these events. They're free. On Friday, November 18th. Oh, and the Saturday event is from 1:30 to 3:30. On Friday, November 18th, from 5 to 7, we're having a silent disco glow up. So we're gonna dim the lights in the gym, make it a little glow theme, and we're gonna have a night of music, dancing. Again, the event is open to the public, and it's gonna include Afrobeats, pop, and Latin music as well. And finally, on November 19th, we're also doing a second event, again, with the DR Art Foundation. This time we're gonna have an artist, Stella Zong. She's gonna be doing particles, ingredients, and secret spaces. So she's creating small particles of art pieces that are gonna be put together into a larger piece. So members can create their own small version, and it's going to be put together into a larger piece. So those are our events for this month, in addition to our programming for seniors, adults, children. For more information, feel free to give us a call. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby. Peter, it looks like we have you now.
I'm here, Charles Kybel, to speak on behalf of Kybel Companies and Charlotte. I think Peter is in transit, so I'm not sure if he's there.
Oh, okay. It looks like he's here.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, I'm
he
sorry.
is there.
Can
Okay,
you hear
he
me?
can speak
Yeah,
then
but
for
Charles,
himself.
actually, I am just getting off an airplane. Charles, could you please speak for our company in regard to the bar premium application?
Okay, so we'll let Charles go next, and your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, just as an introduction, I am Charles Kybel, principal of Kybel Companies, who manages the 360 West 34th Street building, and I'm also a member of Charlo, which is the ownership partnership. And here's our statement. Charlo is the owner of 360 West 34th Street, a 260-unit residential building extending between 34th Street and 33rd Street. Immediately adjacent to our building and on the east elevation closest to 33rd Street is the proposed Bar Primi site. Fronting the proposed open bar restaurant are 70 residential windows, all with recorded light and air easements. Community Board 4 Subcommittee recommends approval of Bar Primi with an outside occupancy of 95. We want to highlight the committee's underlying stipulation that all components of the applicant's sound study dated 10/3/22 be incorporated into any approval, including that the total patio occupancy is limited to 85 people and further limited to 55 after 10 p.m. Furthermore, the applicants have indicated in their application that residential windows will be soundproofed, and we want to make sure that this is done if necessary. Finally, we understand that the patio closes at midnight. We would appreciate the full board's consideration of closing the outside space at 11 p.m. on weekends and midnight on Friday and Saturday. Thank you, and that's my statement.
Thank you, Charles. We're going to go to Carrie B.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, and your 2 minutes starts now.
I have a question before I start my 2 minutes, because I'm commenting about something that's on the agenda that's later in the agenda. It's number 22, the letter to the DOT and the NYPD and the BIC on 16th. So am I allowed to discuss that now, or do I have to wait until you get to that?
Yeah, nope, this is the time.
Okay, and do you all, the letter was drafted and was in the Dropbox. Did everybody get to see that? Or do I?
It's publicly available in yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here to talk about West 16th Street between 6th and 7th Avenue. It has been a chronic excessive problem for at least 20 years. Since the gentrification of this area, 16th Street has become a conduit and a vessel for every truck and car to come down to. 16th Street is a turnoff from the West Side highways, and once you turn off of there, then you come into the Chelsea Market, Western Beef, the Google Building, Maritime Hotel, Dream Hotel, many other restaurants that I can go on and on, Xavier High School, and the Union Square Market. They are doing all their deliveries and pickups and have all their private waste disposal companies, corridors coming, barreling down our streets, which is a narrow street with legal parking on both sides. Once they restricted vehicles on 14th Street from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., it also invited more vehicles to come down our block to avoid, you'd have to make the first right. And we, had that issue as well. So the block is narrow, as I mentioned, with legal parking on both sides of the street. So oftentimes when a car is double parked, the trucks can't pass through, and an excessive amount of honking and whatnot. What we're proposing, and when I had spoken to the Transportation Committee and let them know, like, all the issues that are going on in this block with sleep disruption, increases levels of noise pollution, the fact that to get westbound to eastbound to avoid 14th Street, people are using 16th Street as a block to cross town. It's become like a hornet's nest, and it's just the quality of life and, is absolutely awful living on this block. And we want a camera put on the block so that it would be some kind of a deterrent to these trucks. There are 3 trucks signage on our block saying no trucks anytime, and it is not enforced, and they're not getting ticketed. And
Gary, we need you to wrap up.
Okay, and wrapping up, I just want to make it like we are begging the Department of Transportation. A motion was passed by the Department Transportation Committee to get that camera installed. We've had this ongoing for 20 years, and enough is enough. It's harmful to the residents with our health. It increases our stress levels. We're working from home. It's sleep disruption, it's a loss of productivity, and it's ruined the quality of our life. So thank you.
Thank you. We hear you.
Thank you.
We're going to turn it to Roberta Geld, who's speaking on the same subject. And Roberta, we're going to ask you to please keep this to 2 minutes.
I'll do my best. First of all, I want to thank the committee, the Transportation Committee. They've always had our back, and I want to thank you guys. You've been great. However, at the end of the day, we still have this problem. We have had this problem for a very long time. The fact that the exits from the west side come right down 16th Street. We had the bus on our block. I mean, it seems like there was an old commercial, give it to Mikey. I think it's like, give it to 16th Street. I guess we don't fight loud enough. We don't fight nasty enough, but we need this addressed. And I thank you very much. I think this is a very good letter. I think it covers all of the issues. The only issue I have is that it says and it's been fixed. No, it isn't. It's the wrong precinct. That's the other problem we have. The cutoff for the 13th precinct is 7th Avenue. So we live in sort of a no man's land because 7th Ave, east of 7th Avenue, we have a police department that's way over on the east side. Aren't we part of Chelsea? I mean, we have a police department on the east side. They're not copied on this letter. I'm hoping that you will include them because the traffic does cover both precincts. It comes from west to east and it covers both precincts. So thank you for the letter. I second everything Carrie said. I've been working at home as well, and the noise is really astounding. So I appreciate anything that CB4 can do for us to help us get a camera and enforcement on this block. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move to Lisa Wager.
Hi, I'd be really grateful if I could have 2 minutes and 20 seconds because I timed this and it runs that long.
Get started.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lisa Wager. I'm the Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology, the SUNY College, on 27th between 7th and 8th with 8,000 person residence hall on 31st between 9th and Dyer. I've got 3 items to report and they can each enrich our lives in a different way. The subjects are beauty, the business of fashion, and using science to protect the planet. We've got it all at FIT. Chalk FIT was installed last week. That's the annual street mural on the FIT 7th Avenue facade from 26th to 28th Street. The mural comprises individual panels chalked by more than 90 seniors in our illustration and interactive media program. And this year, the theme is the illustrated song. It's a truly fantastic year. Take a stroll by and see. I think Jesse is going to share some images. It'll be up through December, maybe longer. We have resumed in-person fashion culture events, and on Thursday, November 17th from 5:30 to 7 in the Katie Murphy Amphitheater, FIT professor Elena Romero, who is the co-curator of the upcoming Museum at FIT exhibition, Fresh Fly and Fashion, and Fabulous, 50 Years of Hip Hop Style, will be in conversation with leading celebrity stylist Misa Hilton. Hilton has a very long list of very cool credits, like creating iconic looks ranging from the purple pasty and pantsuit ensemble worn by Lil' Kim at the 99 VMA Awards to Beyonce's leather MCM bustier and trench coat in her, Ape Shit music video. Hilton's clients include Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, Missy Elliott, Faith Evans, Sean Combs, and Kimora Lee Simmons. She's also the founder of the Missa Hilton Fashion Academy on 23rd Street, which offers education for creative high school students looking to build a successful career in the fashion world. And FIT Science and Math faculty, Thiana Shiras' research into microbial leather is the basis for her cover article in the peer-reviewed journal Environmental Science Advances. The article, Microbial Nanocellulose Biotextiles for a Circular Materials Economy, describes a new process of creating bioleather that has, quote, up to an order of magnitude lower carbon footprint than conventional textiles and a 1,000-fold reduction in the carcinogenic impact of leather production. So that's the T in FIT, and I will see you next month.
Thank you, Lisa, as always.
Seconds.
I promise, Jessica, I promised Lisa I would show these quick slides. Is that all right if you were so quick and Lisa was so quick, it took me a while to get there, but I have them ready. It's only about 4. Is that all right?
We wouldn't want you to, not keep your word to Lisa.
I appreciate it. I hope everybody sees these. Does everybody see these?
We see them.
Okay, I'm going to go.
We see one anyway.
We're going to go through just the slides.
Just whip through them. You should walk by. It's amazing.
There we go.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Lisa.
Thank you, Jesse. Gwen, did you have a question? You're on mute.
I had a question for the people who were talking about 16th Street. A couple of times you mentioned we think, and I live on 16th Street, and I haven't heard anything about any organized we. Is there an organized we, and what is that about?
I wonder if this is for the business session of our meeting, since Gwen is a member of the board.
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually have a back and forth between on the public session and members. So I'm happy to connect you with the folks that signed up to speak, and we can have that conversation, I think, offline to confirm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Mr. Chair, that concludes our public session.
Thank you very much, Madam First Vice Chair. Next up on our agenda, I am home, and it is harder to keep track of my tabs on a laptop than it is on a desktop.
Sorry, Jeffrey, I had signed up. Maybe I didn't do the right thing.
Oh,
I don't think we have you, Christine. Sorry.
Okay.
You're not happy, but
Can I?
As long as you disclose who you are, Christine, and your relation to the board, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, we'll start you at 2 minutes.
Yeah, so Christine Berthe, I am the co-chair of Transportation Committee, but I'm speaking as the co-founder of CheckPeds, a nonprofit for pedestrian safety, which has been working for 3 years with DOT and sanitation on a project to relocate residential trash and recycling from the sidewalk to the curb lane. The project is called Cleared Curbs Residential. So we are delighted to announce that at the end of November 2022, the Department of Sanitation will install 42 trash and recycling containers in the curb lane at 6 locations on West 45th Street between 9th and 10th Avenues. The rat-proof locked containers will be shared by multiple buildings, and this will be the first time ever that buildings share containers. The pilot will last 1 year. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Okay, now I believe we have concluded our public session.
there we go. Thank you for that. Okay. moving on with the agenda. There was an amended and updated agenda circulated later today. And I am seeking any questions or a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second. I have a
Thank
question.
you. Bert, yes, I just wanted to get that motion moved. Bert, on the motion, please, on the agenda, please.
Yeah, I see we have a new agenda, a revised agenda from the last one. And one item 28 was withdrawn. And I thought that was an important item. I was just wondering why.
Thank you. I
it was
should have
withdrawn.
clarified, Bert. I appreciate that. Item 35, excuse me, not 35. It's about 35th Street.
Right. That's the one.
Item 28 will be going as an administrative letter. We learned in the past week and a half, there's an illegal demolition taking place on 35th Street. And accordingly, we have historical correspondence on this matter. And so in the interest of moving it forward sort of expeditiously, we want to send an admin letter that is very straightforward, and we will include our past correspondence on that. And if it comes up at a housing committee meeting or land use in the next month or so, obviously there can be a more robust letter from the full board as well, but that's why it was withdrawn.
Okay, thanks, Jeffrey.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Hearing the motion is seconded. Any objections to the agenda? Abstentions or present not eligible? Thank you, everybody. The agenda is adopted as amended. Continuing on. Any questions on the minutes from our October meeting? Thanks to Blake and Katie for the minutes. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adopt, please. Bert, I see that hand. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Any objections? Great, the minutes are adopted. Moving on to our reports from elected officials. The borough president will be joining us shortly. And so I'm going to find that list and welcome to.
We have Natalie from Brad Hoylman's office here. I don't know if she might let us know about.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hi, Natalie.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm just seeing if he's able to join, so I'll let you know. If not, I'll just be giving a report.
Great, thank you. Is Councilmember Brewer with us this evening?
I don't believe I have anybody from the council member's office. I am checking with them.
That's fine. And if somebody lives close to Gail's district, just look out the window. Maybe she's there, and just have her dial in if you see her. Is anybody here from Assemblymember Rosenthal's office this evening?
I believe Erica Overton is in the attendee section, but I believe she is.
Linda coming?
I believe Linda is most likely on her way.
Okay, so I think we're being so efficient this evening that our electeds are caught off guard. And so I'll continue down our list, but I'm not sure. Do we have anybody from Congressman Maloney's office? I know there's often somebody here from District Attorney Bragg's office. Do we have anybody here this evening, Jesse?
Yes, Eric is here. So
Eric is here. Excellent. Let's bring Mr. Straza over.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. Sorry, taking a second to join as a panelist.
Sure.
My name is Eric Straza. I'm your community coordinator for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. Just had a really quick announcement for you. As many of you know, and that's something that we've discussed on this call and many other community meetings, New York City is in the middle of a housing crisis, and this makes tenants particularly vulnerable. So DA Bragg very recently announced the creation of our new housing and tenant protection unit. It's basically a unit that's the first of its kind. It sounds a lot like what it does, and its areas of focus will include things like the harassment of rent-regulated tenants, deed fraud, the defrauding of government subsidy programs by landlords and developers, as well as other conduct against tenants by those landlords and developers. So this is the first time our office will have a unit chief and specific attorneys designated to handle housing matters. And most of these attorneys do have experience in that space, so they're very well suited to take on some of these cases. Another reason why I wanted to mention it to you all today is because the unit will have its own hotline. So if you or anyone that you know has been the victim as a tenant from some kind of the conduct that I just spoke about, please feel free to call our office and let us know. We would be interested in hearing about it. I know that as Captain Jeronimo also mentioned, shoplifting and retail theft, especially as it relates to recidivism, is a big issue in the CB4 community. So I just wanted to reiterate that we have a 5-pronged plan that came out of our Small Business Alliance that we're using to address recidivism, specifically in the Midtown area, which obviously falls into CB4 as well. Just to reiterate a few of those points, we're increasing and have over the last few months since we released the plan, we have been increasing our communication with the NYPD, speaking with more of business owners. I know it's called the Small Business Alliance, but there are larger businesses in there as well. We have been doing work to specifically tailor programming in certain services to some of these individuals. And when they don't accept them, obviously, we will still follow through with those cases. Then we're also doing things like prepackaging our discovery, making that prosecution for those cases a little bit more efficient, and also recommending some sorts of pretrial detention when and where appropriate. So just wanted to mention that at this meeting because I know that it was a topic of concern and particularly relevant. Happy to answer any questions. I can put, I always want to say I can put my contact information in the chat. I don't have chat access here.
Not here. However, we're happy to share your contact info. And I would also say this is great news, just as a board that has long advocated for the protection of our tenants, to hear of this new office. So if there's a contact or more information you can share on that, if you can flip that to Jesse so we can get that out to our members and to the public, that would be great.
Absolutely. Yep, I'll do that. I'll be in contact with Jesse. And if anyone has any questions or wants to learn more, you can just contact our office and ask for the Community Partnerships Unit. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Great. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. Next up, anybody here from the Public Advocate's Office? I don't think I saw anybody on the list. No, I don't.
Natalie did raise her hand, so I think I brought her back over. I'm not sure if she's...
Natalie, an update from the Senator's office from you?
Yes, thanks so much. Sorry for the confusion. Senator Hoylman is on a panel on judicial selection tonight, so he was trying to jump on, but
as chair of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, we understand. So glad to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just provide a couple quick updates from our office. I realize it's been a while since we spoke to the community board, but I'll try to keep it short. So one really exciting win we've recently had is around public safety and the IMD exclusion. So New York's growing mental health crisis demands additional support from the federal government. And during this past year's budget hearing, Senator Hoylman received a commitment from the New York State Medicaid director that the state would consider applying for a Section 1115 Medicaid waiver, which would essentially allow the state to draw down federal dollars for patients who are in residential facilities for mental health and for substance abuse and other related services. And we're really pleased to announce that New York State recently announced it will apply for this waiver. It's going to bring in a lot more resources for the state to be able to put towards mental health care. Over, I think, $100 million will be coming in from the federal government. So we're really excited about that. It's a major step towards addressing our mental health crisis. And we're excited to have federal support. And there is a comment period, so happy to share more information if anyone would like to participate in that. Additionally, we've been working to fully reopen Midtown Community Court. We recently sent a letter along with some of the other colleagues in government that are part of Community Board 4 to request a concrete plan to reopen the court to its pre-pandemic full capacity. And we've been having meetings with stakeholders to try to move this forward and follow up. It's been a really challenging process, but we appreciate everybody's support. A couple legislative updates from us. Recent bills we've introduced. One recently introduced bill is to amend our legislation, the Access to Representation Act, to ensure the state provides legal counsel for all New Yorkers facing deportation, whether they recently arrived in the state or have been New Yorkers for decades. And this would be the first act in the nation to create a state right to a lawyer for people facing deportation who cannot afford representation. So that's something we'll be looking to pass this upcoming session, especially important with the recently arrived asylum seekers and the need for legal support for them. We also, Senator Hoylman also introduced a bill to require developers to replace every unit of housing they demolish. So we've seen a sharp increase of real estate developers tearing down low-rise apartment buildings with many affordable units to replace them with large condo towers with fewer apartments units. So this bill would make sure developers build back all the units they tear down. It's pretty common sense. It's one very small step we can take, to address the housing crisis that's facing the city. Also just wanted to provide a quick update on the Stop the CHOP Act. So that was passed by the state Senate as well as the Assembly this past legislative session. It's the first successful legislative effort at the state level to restrict non-essential helicopter flights over Manhattan. And the bill is still waiting for the governor's signature. So we're going to be pushing to get that before the end of the year. A couple other quick things. So we know the proliferation of shops selling cannabis across the district is something that's of concern to many board members. And in September, Senator Hoylman wrote a letter along with government colleagues calling on the city administration to stop unlicensed cannabis shops that are, expanding across the district and selling unregulated products. As many of you know, no person or entity has been awarded to sell a recreational license or awarded a recreational license to sell in New York State. And I know Community Board 4 has really been a leader on these issues as well. So I appreciate your partnership. Sorry if you can hear the sirens. One last thing. I'm sure many of you have heard the news that broke yesterday from Vornado announcing they're planning to hold off on their new developments around Penn Station due to the changing market for office space. If you didn't hear yesterday, you heard it now. We don't know exactly what that means or how much it will impact the general project plan at this point, but we're hopeful that this will open up new and needed discussions about how we can approach the Penn Station project and look forward to your partnership. One last thing, we'll be having a free flu shot event on November 16th from 1 to 5 at our office. So you can contact our office to sign up. And that's it.
Thanks, Natalie. I see two hands. Mr. Lazarin, please.
Yeah, I'm not good at lawsuits, Jeffrey, so please withdraw that one. Natalie, I was just wondering in terms of, and you probably may not have the answer, in terms of the Medicaid waiver, the mental health issue, how long is the process? Do we have any estimate?
For like the waiver to go into effect?
Yeah.
I think about a year, so it's going to be a process, but I can double check that.
Okay, I just wanted to say if it's next week.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Mr. LeBron.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Natalie. Nice to see you. This is in regards to the medical distribution, rather the marijuana distribution sites in the district. We're going to be seeing permits coming out of Albany pretty soon for the formerly incarcerated. Soon thereafter, there's going to be permits given out probably end of Q1 for women and minority business enterprises. These businesses in CB4 are currently diluting those permits. When are we actually going to see action from the Sheriff's Department on this matter? Because we're getting 2 more on 47th Street right now. It's just a letter is not enough, is what I'm saying. So when are we going to see enforcement and closure and seizure of product?
Great, that's a great point. For sure. I mean, we also I skipped this for a time, but we are also co-sponsoring legislation that would expand, as you said, the authority of the Office of Cannabis Management to seize illicit product. That did not pass, but point taken. the action needs to happen. So I will definitely take that back and, see how we can continue to escalate and work with our other partners in government around that.
Right, because at this point, what we're going to be seeing is actual lawsuits against the state of New York if you're not going to be protecting the permit holders. And secondly, who wrote the Stop the Chop legislation? It doesn't seem like anybody from Albany or anybody from Stop the Chop had a say. It looks, I don't know, it looks a little muddled. It looks like industry wrote it. So who are the authors?
I honestly can't say. I haven't been in this office really long enough, and I don't work on the legislative side, so I can't tell you 100%. I do know we did work really closely with Stop the Chop. I assume it was, us working with our bill drafters to draft the legislation, but I also know there were certain limitations in terms of what we were able to do. But again, I'm happy to get you more information on that.
Right, because there were two drafts.
Chris,
no, hold on. This is a question.
Second question. Totally new topic. So just want to make sure we're succinct here.
Okay, so this is still with Stop the Chop. This is still with the Stop the Chop bill, because there were originally two drafts. There was one that came out of your office, and there was a second one that came out of your office that was amended. The language from the first and the second amendment, and then the amended version that got passed are completely different. And the amended one really doesn't do anything to address what's happening in Hudson River Park. So what's going on here?
Okay, yeah, I'll connect you with our legislative team about that, because I can't answer that right now.
Thank you.
But thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate you being here tonight and the update and answers to questions. Really appreciate it. Next up, I see the Borough President has joined us, and so I want to pass the floor to our Borough President, Mark Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and hey, CB4, great to see you all tonight. A few community board pieces of business to start. We keep getting this emergency order extended to allow us to meet virtually. The current order expires on November 21st, and we just don't know whether it will be extended again. We're watching this closely, but we're preparing for the fact that you're going to have to institute a hybrid operating structure come November 22nd. And we know that's got a lot of legal and logistical complexity. We're supporting you every way we can, and we'll keep you updated on that as we approach that deadline. We're also in the midst of a great week of trainings for you as community board members. Actually, they're open to the public as well. We've really expanded the menu of trainings available. Everything from implicit bias training to understanding land use to apropos your previous discussion, understanding the new cannabis laws that will be taking effect shortly. We're going to be running them again in the spring, but we've had great turnout so far, and excited for you to continue to participate, whether you're a board member or a member of the public. A few policy items, passed a couple bills in the last week that I'm really excited about. One is in partnership with your wonderful local council member, Eric Botcher, that will require the city to tackle the epidemic of rats, specifically around construction sites. I think CB4 is all too well aware of the fact that when you have new construction or significant renovation, it often can disrupt rat colonies and kick up a rat population into the surrounding neighborhood. Now, this can be minimized if the builder pays for pest mitigation. Some don't. So our bill would require that on all construction sites, there is pest management paid for by the contractor to protect the surrounding neighborhood. Really excited about this bill, again, in partnership with your great local council member, Botcher. Secondly, it passed a bill in connection with a council member from Brooklyn, Rita Joseph, that I know this board cares about, expanding the options of public bathrooms in New York City. We have way too few right now. We've all been caught out there. It's a matter of public health, of equity, of quality of life. And this bill, which we passed last week, will require the city to develop a plan for one new public bathroom in every zip code. Every zip code of the city, all 5 boroughs, so equity is built in. This is going to be a game change. We're really, really excited about this. We've put forward a couple policy proposals that you might have seen. One is related to the growing problem of e-commerce delivery. This is a huge problem in CB4, perhaps as much as anywhere in the city. We're now up to 2.5 million packages delivered a day, every day in New York City. Just so you understand how fast that's growing. Pre-pandemic, it was 1.5 million. And you see it on the streets and the sidewalks. Delivery trucks double parked, sometimes for hours on end. Big piles of packages being essentially processed on the street, on the sidewalk, blocking bus lanes and bike lanes and bus stops and sidewalks. It's a problem that we have to manage better. And so we have a list of policy proposals. I won't go into all of them, but they provide innovative ways to get that processing done in other locations, like parking garages, and also to create more curbside space for deliveries so they don't block the traffic, to transition to greener options like e-cargo bikes and more. So really excited about this, and grateful to all of you on CB4 who helped provide input to this. We also issued a policy on the 10th anniversary of Sandy related to advancing protections of our waterfront so we have more resiliency by creating a new agency, new city agency that would rein in what is currently 11 different agencies that have jurisdiction over waterfront resiliency projects. We want to create a new agency for waterfront protection that would streamline and accelerate this progress at a time when still too much of our waterfront is exposed as climate change continues to bear down on us. So I think I'm going to pause there because I've gone over a lot. I don't know if there's time or opportunity for questions, Mr. Chair, but I'll pass it back to you. Thanks again, CB4. Great to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. I forgot to shout out the fact that, and thank you for backing us up on our recent ULURP testimony regarding the EMS station on 30th Street. We really appreciate your support there. It's an issue we've long been trying to solve, and we really appreciate your support on that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I don't see any hands. So Mark, you're off for us.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Evening. Thanks for being here.
Off to the next community board.
Exactly. Okay. I believe we have one of our assembly members, Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, is here. Hi, Linda.
Hello. That was quick. You got to me quickly. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, everyone. I have a few items to report on. You know, I'm chair of the Committee on Social Services, and so I hosted a hearing last week to examine the inadequacy of public assistance benefits in New York State. We heard from many witnesses, people who rely on public assistance, people who advocate for them, people who talked about the bureaucracy. There are many issues, and some of the benefits have not been raised since the 80s. So, for example, for an adult-only household, the shelter allowance hasn't been increased since 1988. So a single adult living in a county, let's say upstate, would receive $152 a month to cover their rent. The utility allowance was created in 1981, and a supplemental amount was added in 86. Single adult households receive $25.10 a month to cover utilities. And the basic needs allowance was last raised in 2012. A single adult will receive $158 a month. Single parent raising 2 kids receives $336 a month. This is obviously not enough to live on, and some of the recipients do get other grants, but you cannot save a dime, especially with inflation the way it is. You cannot save a dime. And we want people to have assistance and then step out of poverty, and this is no way to foster that. So I have some bills, and with the testimony we heard, hopefully next session we'll be able to raise the amounts that people get so that they don't have to live such desperate lives. The governor signed a bill on domestic violence that I passed I guess it was this year. Right now, survivors of domestic violence can exit contracts, but that they have with their abuser, but they need to produce an order of protection in order to do that. We want to make life easier for people who gather up the courage to leave and try to escape the violence. So this will let survivors fill out a self-attestation form and have their names changed or removed from any public directory so they can be safe. On the Upper West Side on 71st Street, some constituents alerted me to anti-Semitic graffiti on a park at 71st Street. I called the NYPD and Parks. They have removed it. NYPD is looking into it, but we have to be ever vigilant against all kinds of hatred. But Upper West Side has many people of the Jewish faith, me included, and to see this, dirty Jew, things like that is disgusting and shocking. Even though it happens a lot, still shocking. It's still something we have to grapple with and be on alert for. I know a lot of you know that I hosted an asylum donation drive because we do have a lot of asylum seekers in hotels and people in the area. If you came into my office now, you would have to step carefully because it looks like a warehouse. And I am just so grateful to everybody, even people from New Jersey who heard about it and came in to donate to the asylum seekers, especially one of the places has a lot of infants. And so we got so much, we got diapers, like thousands of diapers that the people need. Actually, they say they are not getting enough diapers from the providers. And so we've made some deliveries to schools, and we're getting more out there. Some of the churches and shelters are accepting some of the stuff, and we're working with other partners. So the drive is over, but it was good to see the outpouring of support from lots of New Yorkers. And lastly, but not least, I have a shred day. I know it's Marathon Sunday, but that doesn't mean that they will be racing on the streets. They'll be in the park. So Sunday from 10 to 2 outside my district office, bring your documents that you want shredded in front of you and get rid of them. So good to see all of you.
Assemblymember likewise, and I want to thank you and also echo and agree your action and universal rebuke of any forms of hatred, anti-Semitism, or other forms in our communities. So thank you for raising that this evening. We need to be vigilant and making sure that is called out for what it is. I see a hand, if that's okay with you, Linda. Sabrina, you have a question?
I do. Thank you for your time and for your work. I'm just curious to know what's the process of giving these donations out. Just a little concerned about what happens after. Like I'm with you. I think the response of New Yorkers in different drives that I have participated have been wonderful, but we have to be a little not so naive and kind of know what happens once that those donations are given back either to the shelter or the nonprofit or some sort of accountability, I guess.
You mean for what happens with the donations?
Yeah, if there's an oversight of these donations are really going to the people.
Well, that is why we brought it to the schools, and the parents and the asylum seekers came themselves and picked out what they wanted. Great. So it was given directly to them. I've heard many concerns, and I agree with them, that donations are going in and then going out without having touched the hands of those who they were donated for. And so I am looking into that and trying to find the right city person, if any of them would answer properly, on what happens. I think it's an overwhelming problem. And clearly the city can't turn on a dime to take care of everyone, but they've been here a while, and really need to see more progress in enrollment in schools, because the schools are overwhelmed as well. There's so many problems, but at least they don't have to beg for diapers and clothes and coats. I mean, many of the people have never experienced cold weather, so they're in for a shock.
No, I'm just like, I'm curious if there could be some sort of volunteering as well. You know, as the same people who comes to give this donation, there's be some coordinations with nonprofits who, a coordination of those, because this drives will continue, right? These donations will continue over time. So I'm just thinking what creative ways we can have some sort of oversight, not just counting from the city, but as a community as well.
No, I agree with you. But, you know, I have had asylum seekers come here to help sort.
Yeah.
So, you know, nobody really wants just to hand out. They want to work. They can't work except under the table.
Again, my oversight is just for the people who are giving the donations in the shelters or in schools, not so much of,
Well, that's all an issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sabrina, thank you. Assemblyman Rosenthal, thank you. We appreciate the update and you being here tonight.
All right.
And we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
I believe the council member Gail Brewer will be joining us shortly. So is she here?
She is coming on now.
Oh, Gail.
Sure, nice to see you, Jeffrey.
You too. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. In terms of the city council, some things that I think are relevant to everybody. One is the batteries for the delivery people have killed 6 people this year, 100 and some, maybe 160 injuries. So we are doing a hearing on the 14th of November with lots of input, and all input is welcome. It's not an easy product to deal with. It is much less expensive to do
there's a helicopter as I was having
somebody needs to mute. If you do the renovated battery, and the problem with that is it is dangerous when you plug it in. So it's also dangerous not to have the battery be relevant to the bike. That's the short version. There are new batteries, but they cost more. And there's sometimes an ability with a private company to certify a battery, but there's lots of issues with that. So the hearing will hopefully sort out what we can do so people don't die from these batteries. I get tons of calls, and I'm sure you do also, from people living particularly at NYCHA. We want everybody to work. We thank NYCHA for getting rid of the edict that batteries and bicycles should not exist in the building, because what are you going to do? Get your livelihood stolen outside? So we have to figure out what to do, because nobody should be dying. But I will tell you, residents call me all the time and said, oh my God, there's a battery and a bicycle in the elevator and I'm scared. So we got to figure that one out. The second one is the catalytic converters get stolen regularly. Takes about 30 seconds to steal it, and $3,000 in your pocket. So we had a hearing on that, and I think it's going to move before the end of the year. There's lots of suggestions, be it telling people that they can't purchase it if it is not got a serial number on it. New cars will have serial numbers, and there's not every car that has a catalytic converter that is able and lovely to steal. So it depends on the type of car. But anyway, that's another, it's not a big issue in terms of if you don't have a car. It is a big issue when you get stolen, because it is very expensive to replace and shouldn't be taking place. We had a hearing today on language. We all have some bills on that. I think that material that goes out should be more in more languages. It's a issue all across the 5 boroughs. I have a bill on land bank, which you probably know more about it than I do, but it would be nice when we, probably Board 4 would never allow something to go from nonprofit, city-owned to a private for-profit developer, but it happens. Believe me, I've seen it. It makes me angry. If it was owned by the land was owned by the community, then we wouldn't have this problem. So that needs to happen. It happens in states, Ohio, Boston, lots of cities have major land banks, which work really well. So we're working on that. With the asylum seekers, the #1 issue is working papers. I mean, It turns out, no surprise to you, and I want to thank Congressman Nadler, because as usual, he's been keeping me up to date. But nothing's going to happen, as you can imagine. It's almost around the corner, November 8th. But a TPS is needed. I thought you're an asylum seeker, you have a parole status, all you need is working papers. I was wrong. First, you need federal working papers. And second, you need a TPS, which is basically what the Haitians and the Ukrainians have. It's a temporary protective status. It has to pass Congress. I had no idea. So in order to get the working papers, you have to have a TPS. In order to get a TPS, you have to have a lame duck Congress or something, because it has to pass through Congress. If we could get these working papers, I swear all of these asylum seekers would be on their feet in 2 minutes, because they all want to work. So anyway, that's what's holding up. There's a TPS. We need an act of Congress in order to get them their working papers. I had no idea. We are also, I don't want to talk about helicopters because I've tried everything. There are some bills pending in the city council. I know Brad Hoylman has a bill, but we need a federal bill because I don't know what to do with the New Jersey people. I mean, I flew with that stupid helicopter with no windows, no doors, and I know how low they fly. I went to see what it was like. I've tried everything. We have a noise bill. We have a don't fly out of New York heliports bill, but the real problem, in my opinion, is New Jersey. So it might help a little what we can do, but I've talked to the governor. In New Jersey, I don't even know the guy. I have talked to mayors and council members, and they all don't like it either, but there seems to be no appetite. So that's what's going on with helicopters. We need some help. On the unlicensed smoke shops, I think you know that they're on every block. So turns out cannabis is, there's nobody in charge. I think your state folks are trying to get some legislation because the cannabis office can't do anything. So then I call the police, they can't do anything. And the consumer people only do tobacco. So I go in and out of there like this old lady with my, excuse me, are you legal? And, oh yes, Gail, we're legal. I don't think so, because the sign up here says, I sell cannabis. I don't think that you're supposed to be doing that. So it's an ongoing issue that we need to address. We have some, I think the sanitation, I'm a big fan of Jessica Tisch. I don't know how you feel about her, but one of my interns is chief of staff, former intern. So I think she's fabulous. So you got, I think that she's trying. I'd love to see what you think of what she's doing, but I think the change in the times and the twice a day pickup of the litter baskets, it's helping. The rats are still there. We're soon going to have new baskets. The mesh baskets are like lunch, breakfast, and dinner for the rats. But the new baskets, which she calls them the silver bullet. She doesn't like the solar baskets, the big belly. She doesn't like those. She likes the silver bullets. So we're probably all going to get silver bullets in the near future. If you have investigations and oversight ideas, let me know. We've been mostly working on, we're going to do something. I'm going to try to tackle issues that have been insurmountable for 40 years. One of them is the special school buses for special for students who have special needs. That bus that does not show up. So we're doing a hearing on that and hopefully some follow-up. Those buses have got to show up. I know the mayor announced he's got electric buses. That's very nice. I want the bus to show up. I really don't care what kind of bus it is. It's got to show up. I know some people do care what kind of bus it is. Please show up for these kids. Anyway, I have tons of complaints. We're also doing a hearing coming up on the federal dollars. We have no data. We have no data on exactly how many federal dollars at some of these agencies, particularly DOE. We've been trying, but we have not gotten it. That's the city council. I do want to thank all of us for working. Both Eric Botcher and us have been working on these fresh food for seniors. I think it's the most popular program. It goes until this coming up next couple of weeks is it for the year, and then we'll start again in the spring. Everybody loves it. We're doing on the 14th of November. It's on 62nd Street, a little bit above you at Lincoln Center, a tech clinic with oats. A program that you know only too well. Every older adult or anybody can come and find out anything you want to know about technology. And then on November 20th at JCC, we're doing a huge children's book fair. We've been collecting books. We have 4,000 or 5,000 books right here in the district office. People have been dropping them off. And then we'll give them out to young people in the community, and we'll try to find a way to make sure that people who are in shelters or at night should get preference, which is what we're working on. The last day for participatory budgeting is November 11th, and there are certainly projects that are in my part of District 4 that might be of interest to you. Last time we did trees and security cameras and bathrooms in the schools, and they're certainly very popular. And thank you very much, Community Board 4.
Gail, thank you for being here this evening. I also want to give you a shout out for your diligence and follow up on the Harbor View RFP, of which remains top on our priorities for our budget ask, of which we are taking up and will be voting on this evening to send that to the administration. So thank you for your nudging to the agency to get them to move that forward because we want it and you know the topic well. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
A quick hand, if you will, Gail. Marty.
Thank you so much, Gail, for your work. As usual, on lithium-ion batteries, are you hearing anything about alternative to that technology? As you know, that technology burns, and even when it matches cars.
Well, that's why we're having the hearing, Marty, because I mean, the alternative is, you're right, it's complicated. The issue is a new battery, but it costs more, would somewhat solve the problem, well, at least death. But
that's the same technology.
Exactly. No, I haven't heard anything. And the other problem is just, even more going into the weeds, the same technology battery, if the bike isn't coming with the battery, it doesn't work. So we need, I don't know. So you got a bike battery, technology, what do you do with the battery? Cost is really a lot of things on the table. So
thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Marty. I see two more hands. Tina is going to be the final question, so I'll start with Sabrina and then go to Tina. Sabrina.
Hi, Council Member. Thank you for your time. Just a quick fact about me. I'm an asylum seeker. I can give you from Venezuela. Happens. I just came here a few years earlier. Political reasons. And I want to clarify something. So when you are seeking asylum, the first year, right, you do get to apply for a work permit.
Yep.
So you can get a work permit. It just takes about 6 to 9 months to get. And then it's expensive. It's over $500. You also have to go through FBI, fingerprints, and such. And then you get scheduled a hearing, and based on that, on your case, you get assigned asylum in the United States. You can also simultaneously have TPS. So you can seek asylum and have TPS, which is I guess that's what they want. TPS is a process that can be faster in order to get work permits. So I'm a TPS and asylum seeker, so I can get the work permit by each way. So just a clarification that as an asylum seeker, you do get work permits, it just takes longer.
Okay. So you're saying that the Congressman Nadler stating that they need TPS is not correct? Is that what you're saying, that it already exists?
I guess he's advocating to get TPS so they will have it faster.
Yes.
Because asylum way, you do get them, it just takes longer.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. I will clarify that when I give the information. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sabrina. Tina?
I mean, not to get into the weeds of this too much, but my question is, it was my understanding that there were people at the southern border who were brought to the city. Have they even gone through a credible fear interview, or have they applied, as Sabrina has mentioned, for asylum, like actually submitted an application? In other words, I'm sort of curious, where are the people from? Have they even begun the system, going through the system?
I can answer some because I have friends who actually, you have to get to 26 Federal Plaza at midnight in order. If you get there in order to get an appointment, and even then, and spend the night at 26 Federal Plaza. But Sabrina, go ahead. You might know more than I do. I mean, it's bad right now because of the numbers of people.
I was working closely at the volunteer center with the city at the Port Authority. So I actually looked, because I was a translator and as well an interpreter. And I looked at some of the paperwork. So yes, all these people have been processed to enter. Once they have a date, and some of them are December that I looked at it, and then through that date, they will have a hearing, and then They will have just some paperwork. And some of them actually will have the interview. So some of them don't even have to, will know either they stay or they don't stay. If they tell them no, they can appeal. Again, it's a very long process. And while they're appealing, they can apply for the work permit because they're different process. Like you seek asylum, that's the first process. Second process, after you have seek asylum, you ask for the paperwork. And again, this work permit only lasts for 2 years. You have to continue renewing them. Again, immigration it's very complicated, but yes, to answer your question, once they enter the country, they do get processed. They have a number, they have a record. So yeah.
The line, Tina, at 26 Federal Plaza, you can't imagine. I mean, it's like 5 blocks long. And in order to get in the morning, you have to get there. My friend is there right now. He's going to be there all night to get his appointment, try to get an appointment in the morning.
Right. I guess I'm just curious because frankly, if they haven't even gone through a credible fear interview, do we really know in the end what the numbers actually are? That's my question, because have they actually claimed persecution in that interview? But that's not for
Tina, I appreciate and I understand the question. I'm not sure this is the full forum to sort of get into that this evening. It may be worthwhile to think about how we can begin to have this discussion at a committee level, or is there somebody we can invite, from Federal Plaza or wherever, the respective agency, whether it's Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, or is there a federal representative that we can talk to Congressman Nadler's office about of coming to sort of speak to us? That may be the way to go so we can understand a bit more of the nuance and the process, if that's okay with you. Gail, council member, thank you so much for the updates as ever, and for being with us tonight. I'm sure we will see you around and very soon on the squares. That is the last update from our elected officials this evening. Thank you to everybody for that and for the questions as well from the board. And so moving forward in our agenda, I want to pass it over to our district manager, Mr. Bodine, for the district manager's report.
Good evening, everybody. I will try to make my report as short as possible. Just very quickly, as we already mentioned, in-person meeting, meeting schedule. The city did extend its EO, which then allows under the amended New York State open meetings law for us to decide on whether we want to continue to meet 100% virtually. This was brought up at exec committee, confirmed that they would like to continue to meet virtually as long as the EO is continued to be extended. There is a document and a letter in your packet tonight. It's a determination. The way the New York State amended open meetings law works is that we as a body can continue to meet virtually as long as we have made that determination, made it public, and voted on it and listed on our website. So that's what that document is referring to. And I can answer questions later on when we get to that document if there are any questions. But that's what that is. Very quickly, looking forward to November committee schedule changes. BLP is not going to meet on its normal date because of Election Day. The office is closed and many people will be very busy. So they will be meeting on Tuesday, November 15th. The only other change really is that WPE, Waterfront Parks and Environment, was going to meet in person and have a hybrid meeting at the Javits Center and have a tour of the green rooftop and garden. That has been postponed till December. So the WP meeting will meet at its normal time, but it will be 100% virtual. All other committees meet at their regular scheduled time for November, which is such a change from October.
I was going to say, Mr. District Manager, what did you just say? We're back on a regular schedule?
It's very exciting for everybody, especially only maybe me. But I do just want to say, I want to give a huge thanks to everybody for the month of October is always very hard. This month was particularly hard. And so everybody making their schedules, working around the difficulties, meeting at different times, especially leadership, who that last month in October was 3 or 4 meetings in a row, all very important meetings. And so being very flexible. I really do appreciate it. And I will that will be really it. I just do want to say one more thing is that the response that we have gotten about the affordable housing plan, I know Jeffrey mentioned about the number of meetings being set up, but just the ground level response from other community boards, other folks who've just never seen a document of that caliber coming out of a community board has been, because I send it out to everybody, I send it to all the district managers, has been phenomenal. And I just wanted to just acknowledge the hard work, of you guys, of all of you, obviously in particular, Joe Restuccia and Maria, but all the land use committees, everybody that's had a role in it. But it really has, has a really phenomenal response. And every time we talk to anybody that's seen it, has just been really, it's been a really positive response.
Thanks, Jesse. I want to continue on that vein, but I first want to acknowledge Ms. Cohen with her hand up in the attendees section. The public session is over. I believe your comments were going to be about 16th Street, of which we heard from a number of members of the public about. If you have further questions or inquiries about that, feel free to follow up with Jesse in the board office, and those can be directed accordingly. So diving into my chair's report, I want to start by acknowledging again the work of the housing committee, the land use committees for our housing report. Joe, Jessica, and I have started a road show, if you will, with the affordable housing plan. We had a great meeting with the Councilmember Botcher, a week and a half ago. On Monday, we met with the chair of the City Planning Commission, Dan Garodnick, along with a number of members of staff of the City Planning Commission. We are working to schedule meetings with Jessica Katz, who is the housing czar. I'm not sure of her official title.
Chief Housing Officer.
Senior Housing Officer. Thank you, Joe. At City Hall. We are planning briefings with our state elected officials and really working our way up to make sure that folks are just aware of how much opportunity Board 4 is presenting, not just our community, but the city of New York and the state as well. And of course, this work is worthy of acknowledgement, and then making sure not just the acknowledgement happens, but we turn the work into action, which is something we are pretty good at doing. And so we've got the fire lit and we are pushing this forward. So we will continue to update you all accordingly on who we're meeting with and how all that is going. And right now it's very favorable. WPE and transportation, and the gentleman with his hand up, our former chair met with, and myself, met with EDC regarding Pier 94 and the lease negotiations with Vornado. A couple of factors there. We enhanced and resurfaced all of the concerns and ammunition we were looking to give the city in their negotiation with Vornado on this pier. The two key factors are: do not undersell a city asset, and quite frankly, given the fact that it's been over a decade of promised improvements to these piers, we would rather see an RFP process than a bad lease executed on behalf of the city and Vornado. They have until January to come to an agreement. And so TBD on whether or not that has happened. I had follow-up calls with the borough president's office and the council member's office on this to make sure that our message was being echoed to EDC, to know that we would not see it as a loss if there was not a lease executed on these piers, and we would rather see the city recognize the value in its assets and not undersell itself. So that will be ongoing in the next couple of months. We had a small briefing with the Garment District Alliance regarding a possible proposal for conversion of office space to residential. Those meetings will continue and find its way to the Land Use Committee, I think likely in December. The Transportation and ACES committees met with the Community Board Public Bathroom Task Force. You heard the borough president speak about this evening. This is gaining traction. If you've had to use the restroom anywhere in the city, you know what a struggle that can be. Chelsea Land Use Committee provided testimony. Thank you to Jessica for this. To the City Planning Commission regarding the relocation of EMS Station 7. And like I mentioned earlier, the Borough President backed up our requests specifically on that to the City Planning Commission. So we'll be continuing to track that as well. Ongoing meetings and reports from our working groups and small committees. The Port Authority Bus Terminal Replacement Working Group. We've begun to reschedule our consistent meetings with the Port Authority, and the next round of conversations are teed up to begin in this next month. The Penn Station Area Working Group, that work will continue regardless of what you read in headlines, is my understanding. The Public Realm Task Force, of which we have 2 seats on, we had a meeting last month about that, and we are, I believe, scheduled to meet again on that soon. We have actually, let me stay on the Penn Station topic for a second. You'll recall that when the plans were formalized for the Penn Station GPP, Bayview, the former women's prison on West 20th Street, was put in the mix for mitigation. Thanks to Senator Hoylman, we have a meeting with ESD on the process of the RFP for the Bayview site on November 9th. So stay tuned for updates on that. It's good news to see progress on this. The Cannabis Working Group, a good update there. They met with CWP as well as multiple other community boards. And of course, the goal is coordination with this on the statewide level and to figure out how in any way enforcement or issuance of licensing will happen. There continues to be confusion, as we've heard from members of the public and our elected officials tonight, around purchasing locations versus consumption and how all that will play its way out. And again, I want to just remind everybody, the reason we convened our working group was so that we could make recommendations and also think about how we'll establish a process for the board to take up whatever licensing structure we have an opportunity to opine on as this sort of legality makes its way forward. And finally, 2 other quick items. The NYU Capstone Project, what I shared with you all last month, has officially kicked off and will continue to work its way forward. Jessica Chait is the chair of that group, and we have a really great roster of members of committees a part of that, from WPE, Transportation, and both land use committees. And then finally, I just want to give a shout out to the diligence of our board on the whole, and in particular, the Transportation Committee and our focus on safety. This past Sunday, Mayor Adams held a press conference on 46th Street and 8th Avenue, shedding light on the fact that 1,000 intersections across the city of New York have been made safer because of plans that started in Community Board 4 to begin with. And in particular, the 8th Avenue corridor in the 40s and 50s has been fortified because of our advocacy. And we were acknowledged for that. And of course, Christine and Dale and the work of the Transportation Committee were highlighted by the mayor. And I think we should take a little bit of credit to say he's upped his goal to 1,200 intersections by the end of the year, thanks to the diligence of this board's efforts to acknowledge the importance of safety for people on the street. So props to Transportation and the board on the whole for that. Mr. Kern, I see a hand.
Yes, sir. Going back to the affordable housing plan.
Sure.
One group that you didn't mention sharing the plan with, and I realize the D word is a dirty word, but have we made developers aware of this plan?
Great question, Lowell. They are certainly aware. Many developers in our community are very aware of this. Frankly, from a sort of a priority standpoint, we are sort of taking it on the road with our elected officials because we want to make sure that they understand what we're seeking. And then we're talking about what a wider sort of promotion would be like, whether it's media, press, and then, wider development conversations. Jesse?
I will just say we did reach out and send it to the head of the different bids. So I will double check on that, but I do think that went out, including them.
Can you double check with the head of the meatpacking bid?
I will double check right now. Well, later, maybe offline.
Offline. Thank you for that, Lowell. Key point. exciting things to come, I think, on the affordable housing plan. I have no further updates. And so that is a good thing, because with pleasure, I move to the business portion of the meeting.
Excuse me, Jeffrey. This is
Maria, you're right. I'm supposed to pass it to you. I'm supposed to pass it to you for the goodwill portion of our meeting, please.
Hey, look, I just need to say, in case you all don't know, CB4 does a lot of good work, right? The affordable housing plan. We talked about transportation. We're talking about our coat and diaper drive that's coming up Saturday, November 19th, between 1 to 5 p.m. What we are looking for is donations of new or gently used coats and unwrapped packages of diapers for families who are in shelter and Community Board 4. Again, that's going to be Saturday, November 19th from 1 to 5. You can come drop off at Metro Baptist Church, which is at 410 West 40th Street. And that's between 9th and 10th Avenue. Again, that's 410 West 40th Street. And we have some sponsors from the community, which is really great, that are supporting us, like Google, Chelsea Market, Hudson Yards, Tishman Spire. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you for that, Maria. We did this a year or two ago with great success, and so looking to repeat that. Marty, a question.
Do we have a place where we can send money instead of diapers?
Marty, sorry, Maria, if you have a quick answer to that, I was going to add one as well. Go ahead.
I would suggest, if you really want to, it would be preferable to bring things, or Marty, like you and I can meet at some point before then if you want to give me some items. But Jesse might have an idea about this, but I would suggest if you wanted to donate money, it would be going to Metro Baptist.
Yeah, that's just because we're co-sponsoring and they're hosting us, that's the location. And so they've accepted their nonprofit or portion of their organization has accepted funds in the past. And so that would be where you would send any funds.
Thank you.
I also want to just acknowledge that a number of the schools in our district have Amazon wish lists, and those have been circulated. And I have to say, it's a really easy way to send. I'm a sucker for it. I think I've sent a bunch. I have sent a ton of school supplies and it goes right to the school. And so there are numerous ways to give, Marty. And I think if we can compile a couple of links, we can circulate that stuff. So thanks for the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey, for adding that. Jeffrey, I want to see you on the 19th too.
I'm going to come with my bags of coats and things of whatever you tell me to bring. So you'll see me. Thank you, Maria. And we'll obviously be promoting that. And we hope everybody will share it with their networks as well.
You're not going to give up that leopard skin coat, are you now?
No, Mike, that's not gently used. That's long been used. So.
Oh, okay. Give it to me.
All right. So I want to move to the business portion of our meeting, and I want to start with Frank and Bert and the BLP committee. Gentlemen.
Hi there. If we were in the old days, I would suggest we bundle items 2 through 20. So we will take those as a group. But I wanted to speak briefly to item number 1, which is 349 West 33rd Street, because that's the one that the management company from the neighboring building spoke about in the public session. This is an establishment on the south side of 33rd Street, across the street from Moynihan Station. And they do have a fairly large outdoor space in the front of their space. It's basically an old loading dock space. We actually spent a lot of time at 2 separate meetings with this applicant because we asked them to get an acoustical report, which they did, and they've agreed to implement all of the recommendations of the acoustical report, including several that have to do with the capacity of the outdoor space. What the gentleman in the public session asked is if we could close the outdoor space at 11 p.m. instead of midnight. The BLP committee spent a lot of time at both of these meetings trying to balance all the competing concerns, and what the committee ultimately is recommending is the 12 p.m. closing. In exchange for that, the applicant agreed not to have any music outside after 9 p.m. and to also limit the capacity at various times during the night with the numbers going down. So the recommendation of the BLP committee, after considering carefully the outdoor hours, was midnight. But I'm happy to take questions about that or any of the others in the BLP section of the agenda.
Thank you, Frank. We have a hand. Dale? You're on mute, Dale.
Sorry. Frank, just a quick clarification. I believe it's on the north side of West 33rd Street.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Moynihan's on the south. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dale. Okay, Bert. Frank, thanks for pulling that out. Any other questions on BLP across the bundle? Great. Thanks, Frank. On to Christine and Dale at Transportation Planning, please.
Yes, one or two friendly amendment that came through the transom on those letters. On the redesign of 11th Avenue, we asked for the missing bike lane between West 34 and West 43rd Street to be completed first. And we are also asking for installing gridlock cameras at all intersections, in addition to what was in the text. So that's a small change. And on the DOT trucks on West 16th Street, we'll add the 13th precinct CO per the request. And then we are clarifying how the trucks can avoid 16th Street by saying they can immediately turn, make their way to 14th Street. They can do so by going down 9th Avenue, then east on 14 or south on 7 and on 14, which is clarification of how to do it. It's nothing net additional.
Thanks, Christine. Any questions on the transportation letters? Candace.
On the number 22, on the Google Chelsea Market Western Beef, is there a business district in that area? Instead of calling them out on that, is there? Because I see that we did we in the letter it said the Business Integrity Commissioner. That's who we addressed it to, and that has to deal with more of like what I read was more organized crime and commercial waste hauling.
Well, so the business district is the executive director of the business district is right here. So we are sending the letter to Jeffrey as well. But the business business integrity are the people who communicate with the private haulers. So that's why it's not really about the mafia or whatever. It's really, they are the people who communicate with them. And that's why we suggested that they should have a communication with the haulers. Otherwise, I don't know how to reach the haulers.
I guess my question would be the Google Chelsea Market. Is there not a business district? Are they part of meatpacking?
Yes, the meatpacking is the business district.
They don't have anything themselves yet?
Well, Jeffrey can take that when he receives the letter.
That was my question, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Candace. Marty?
Thank you. I really appreciate the work that you and all of you have been doing. And I also like the recognition that you have gotten for making our neighborhood a lot safer. There has been an underlining vent in a lot of these documents that knocks out parking places. On line 39 in particular, on item 20, one bike corral installed in each block's parking lane is going to reduce that many parking places for those folks who can't afford garages, have cars, and need to find parking places. A lot of the stuff that's happening, I heard about the garbage containers, that's good stuff, but it takes parking places. The bike corrals, I would love to see you remove that line.
Well, I hear what you're saying. So first of all, on 11th Avenue, we really don't have a lot of parking, right? It's not a heavy parking street. And it is a program of the city to install a bike corral on, on every block so that you have delivery people can put their bikes, etc. So, I can say one every two blocks if you want to say that, but really it's a city program.
I would rather see us be very adamant about enforcement and of traffic rules and the licensing of any vehicle that can go faster than a motored vehicle that can go faster than 25 miles an hour. That would be licensing and insurance. There's a whole lot of stuff to be done there. Taking up parking places, I don't think is an appropriate focus.
Okay.
And I'd appreciate you knocking it down as much as you can.
Thanks, Marty. David?
Hi, good evening. First of all, I was going to ask a question. Before I do that, I just want to say I have a point of departure regarding enforcement. I think road design and construction would be better than enforcement. The way the roads are constructed, if they can manipulate people, cyclists, pedestrians, and motor car drivers, that would be better than enforcement. That's just a personal opinion. I hope my question is not inappropriate, but there's something that's come up within the last couple of days, and that is on 9th Avenue, the bike lane around 31st and 30th Street has become very difficult to ride because of the surface.
David, David, if you're talking about 9th Avenue, this is out of scope. Our letters are on 16th Street and the sort of completion and redesign of 11.
But okay.
Bring it up at the next meeting.
Go to committee.
Transportation, David.
By then it might be too late, but okay. Thank you.
Well, send us a note and we'll see what we can do on it.
Send it to me. David, send it to me now.
Okay.
Thanks, David.
And I apologize for being out of place.
That's all right. Thanks, David. Charlie?
Yeah, just regarding 11th and to respond to Martin's comment, I think it is warranted to have bike parking on every block. We have ample car parking on every block, and 80+% of our district does not own a car. So I would be in support of having, just as a matter of fact, having bike parking on every block. It's 11th Avenue. It's not particularly residential, so I don't know who's parking there. Someone going to a car dealership? I don't know who's bike parking there either, but I think we should have a share of the bike parking and car parking.
Thanks, Charlie. Christine, anything else to add on those?
No.
Thank you. Any other questions on transportation? Okay, moving on to Chelsea land use. Jessica and Carrie.
Yeah, hi. So this is a document that a whole lot of people, so thanks to everybody who worked on this, put together, and Jesse too, and his team for formatting the document to be a fillable PDF. This is the LPC checklist, we call it, and it was born out of a desire to be more consistent in Chelsea at our meetings with our recommendations to LPC when applications come before us for alterations or modifications to landmark buildings or buildings in the Chelsea and Special West Chelsea historic districts. Through this document, we're hoping to be able to address building stabilization so that something like what you might remember, 9th Avenue and 14th Street, the Gainsborough Market, demolition of 9 historic buildings doesn't happen again, as well as just some more consistency. So after multiple rounds of review in the Chelsea Land Use Committee, the checklist was presented to Clinton Hill's Kitchen Land Use, and all the comments were compiled, and this is the result. The document, we think it's, we see it as a living document, so it will change once we send it out and get feedback back from applicants. And so we can constantly update it, and they will be asked to fill this out and before they come to us with applications to present. And lastly, we have already one friendly amendment from Paul to include a question identifying the building as either a public or private building, which we are happy to include. And that is the Chelsea or the LPC checklist.
Thanks, Carrie. We have a hand from Roberta.
Roberta?
I have a quick question specifically on page 6, item 4. It refers to sustainability and floodproofing. My question would be, are you referring specifically to resiliency measures such as floodproofing or sustainability measures such as energy efficiency, or both? And if so, perhaps it might warrant like inclusive language, sustainability and resiliency, if that's what the committee intended.
Yes, so the committee, I think, intended more floodproofing because of, we are in the flood zone. But that's a really good point, and we can totally add that resiliency.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. Thanks, Carrie. Any other questions for Chelsea Land Use? Okay. I guess I'm next. Executive Committee. We have a ratification, a letter to DOT regarding outstanding projects on pretty much all the key avenues in our district, actually, and really digging in on the fact that projects need to be completed. And just because they start something doesn't mean it shouldn't be fully realized. And in fact, we are seeing issues of safety for projects that are only partially completed versus those that are fully done. So this was a timely matter. So this is a ratification. The next one is the item that Jesse mentioned regarding, and this is kind of just a memo, it's a letter to ourselves, stating our policy, which is that no matter what, if there is an executive order that exists allowing us to meet virtually, given the changes in the open meeting law, we will choose to do so. Item 28 regarding what was a recently discovered illegal demolition on West 35th Street. That is going to go as an administrative letter. I'm committing to getting that out this week to the relevant agencies. It will include, it'll be a very brief cover sheet with sort of the history of our correspondence on the topic, and then specific to the area as well. And then finally, you heard from Leslie this evening about our statement of district needs and budget requests. I want to open that up for questions from the board on that. Does anybody have questions on the statement of district needs that Leslie presented on earlier this evening in the public session? Well, then I want to pat the budget committee on the back.
What's going on here?
Well, Leslie, I owe you a drink, and that's fine with me.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
I want to note a number of the items that are being taken back up at committee or were tabled. We will hear those in the month ahead. And obviously a number of committees that didn't have anything to report tonight. Any final questions or anything to raise? Mr. Greenwald.
Sorry, I would like to just visit item 27, just the extended, extended use of Zoom. And I mean, would this be the opportunity to discuss, I mean, again, as a group, whether the consensus is actually to continue to remain in Zoom for all meetings indefinitely while the emergency order is pending? Or I would like to encourage us as a group to think about potentially at least once a month, while maybe the committees can continue to be in Zoom, at least once a month to be in person. I think that allows for a freer exchange of ideas, for our people to have, to see each other in person, to be discussing the issues that are coming up. I just think it's conducive to the type of business that we see before us. So,
well, I thank you for raising that, because it is appropriate for me to share a little color on how the executive committee has been talking about this since my predecessor, Lowell Kern, was chair of the board as well. We've been following the letter of the law, and frankly, sometimes not necessarily exactly to the letter. But the fact is, we had to come up with this policy. And generally speaking, the gist has been, my encouragement has been, if it's allowed, we could keep committees virtual And then how can we plan to have a hybrid full board meeting, sort of a la what we did back in July. I believe it was June or July when that happened last. In part, the logistics of this are pretty severe. We have office space that is not conducive to a full-on public meeting. Jesse has organized, has planned for the ability for a committee to meet there, but we would not be able to welcome members of the public to that meeting. And so figuring out the hybrid structure is still tricky. I think we understand that the executive committee understands the value of meeting in person. And I think we are working towards a solution for that. The issue continues to be resources. Hybrid meetings cost money. We're lucky right now that we're working off of a reserve that we had from 2021 with a contract we executed before executive orders frankly got extended. But I would encourage you, Jesse, to attend or just sort of track our executive committee meetings on this. Twofold, track the executive orders. Given this policy, we're now sort of updating. We passed a policy several times. And then, as it comes up on the executive committee, of course, check that agenda and feel free to tune in for the discussion. And of course, as a board member, you are welcome to join that discussion as well. Mr. Noble.
Okay, I'm just, just to let you know, I'm all in favor of, hybrid meetings and virtual meetings all the time, as much as we can do it. And, other agencies, other groups have decided that this is the way to get the public involved. I'm curious to know who drafted this letter, Jeffrey?
That'd be me, Mike.
The memo?
Yeah. Who? Tell me who?
That'd be me, Jesse Bodine, District Manager, Mike.
You did a wonderful job there, Jesse.
That means a lot to me, Mike. Thank you.
Just to commend you,
Coming from your lips, that means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not going to lie, I did do a lot of cutting and pasting. So let's.
Jesse, the answer might have been different depending who said they wrote it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, indeed, Leslie, indeed. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, no more questions. I want to give the floor to our secretaries.
Okie dokie.
Well, when Jesse puts his hand up, though, I have to acknowledge it.
So I just want to make sure we go over about being P&E.
Yes, thank you for that. A couple of factors. So the budget items are a significant document, and each line is a specific ask to a specific agency on a specific topic. For example, I am present not eligible on one of the items in the expense request. I'm going to be voting for the document on the whole, but calling out specifically what item I am P&E on. I know my colleague Maria is P&E on a particular item. I think Joe is P&E on it, right? There's a number of us who on a particular item we are P&E on, but we can support the document on the whole. So I want to kick it to Jesse for the rules on that in terms of how we're going to communicate it.
Yeah, so Jeffrey did a good explanation. So, and this is for Katie too, understanding. So Katie does not have to drive herself nuts tonight trying to keep track of all the P&Es. What we did on the vote sheet, you will see on the digital vote sheet, is that you have your normal choices of voting for this item. This is just the budget item. Okay, there's three, but in the Dropbox, there's three different documents, but that is all collectively the same one item. You can vote, yes, no, abstain, P&E. But if you're voting for it, you can vote for it. There's a new section at the bottom of that, which should say other. And if you have a P&E, meaning present not eligible for a particular item, one, you should state it when you say the vote. So there's a recorded the recording of you publicly saying that you're P&E for an item. Okay, but then when you're putting the vote into your own digital vote sheet, you should type in, if you know the number, that's great. If you can say item 30 from expense, that would be wonderful. But if you don't know the number, that's fine. You just know that you are P&E because, let's say, you sit on a board of one of the organizations that we mentioned, or you work with an organization that we mentioned. or you have some sort of financial relationship with one of the organizations we mentioned, you can just say, I am P&E for this, the item relating to X, Housing Conservation Coordinators, Hudson Guild, any of those things. So that's what you're going to do. Is there any questions? Aurora, you look like you have a question. I bet you're good. All right, Aurora is good.
No,
Does
I was
anyone
just
else have a
reviewing
question?
this vote sheet.
Yep.
Okay,
Aurora,
great.
you and I are voting P&E on the same one, by the way, on the budget.
Well, you definitely need to mention it when Katie says your name. You should say, you'll say, yes for all, or yes for one, or no, or whatever. But you'll definitely need to say, I'm going to be P&E for this particular item in the statement of district needs. You can still vote yes, supporting the general document. So what Katie is going to record is just the yes or the no, and the P&E will come later. We'll get all of that later, but it'll be recorded and it'll be in the digital document, and we'll, make sure everything's, makes sense later. Leslie has his hand up.
Yes, a quick question, Jesse. On the agenda, there's a note about nominating committee and Sabrina. Was she supposed to make a presentation on that?
Yep, 100%.
Wow.
Thank you, Leslie.
Wow.
We did jump right over that, didn't we?
Well, Mr. Williams, you get the detailed presentation award this evening. Thank you for calling us out on that and keeping us to the letter of our agenda. We're going to revert back to the top, and I want to pass it over to the chair of our nominating committee for the report of the nominating committee, who interviewed interested candidates for our executive officers earlier this month. Sabrina.
Thank you, Leslie. I was hoping I was off the hook. Just a quick reminder that the elections are next month, but right now the current slate is Jeffrey LeFrancois for chair, Jessica for vice chair, Leslie Bogosian-Murphy, I'm sorry, Leslie, for second vice chair, Katie Stokes for co-secretary, Roberta Burnett for co-secretary. And if there's anybody that would like to nominate themselves, they can do it now. Last chance, or we'll go forward with these nominees, and the full election will be next month. Yeah, okay, I think we're good. Thank you.
Aurora, you have your hands up.
Yeah, so I just have a question because, so the one I'm supposed to vote P&E on is 24, but it says it's tabled.
Right, so that's going to be tabled, but Aurora, there's also a budget ask for HCC, number 23 in expense. So you'll call that out.
Okay.
So under the item 29, which is the budget, statement of budget, district needs and budget requests, there's a section that says other. In that section, you can say, I am P&E for anything related to whatever, housing conservation.
Got it.
Yeah, but you are right. If that letter was not tabled, you would be P&E for that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Again, major shout out to Leslie for, I guess, helping me continue to be the chair of the board.
And so righteous, following our bylaws. So I really, Leslie gets
keeping us to the letter of the law, like we're trying to do with the hybrid meetings too. Without further ado, and with great appreciation, I want to pass it over to Katie to call the roll and collect our votes this evening.
Okay, here we go. Ted, we're going to start with you.
Yes to all.
Roberta.
Yes to all.
Christine.
Yes to all.
Gwen.
Yes to all.
Leslie Bogosian-Murphy.
Yes to all.
Veron.
Yes to all.
Jessica.
Yes to all.
Dale.
Yes to all.
Aurora, here you go. Here's your chance.
Hey, I'm going to probably mess this up. Yes to all except for 29, I'm other. Right?
Well, are you yes on most of 29 and just P&E on part of it? Is that it?
Yes.
Got it. All right. See, look, we worked that out. Marty.
No, but Aurora just needs to be clarify what the
P&E on HCC, anything with housing conservation coordinators.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marty?
Yes to all and submitted.
Ooh, Marty. Paul?
Sam. Yes to all.
Thank you. Tina?
Yes to all.
Pete Diaz?
Yes to all and submitted.
Wow, impressive. Thank you. Wendy?
Yes to all and submitted.
Now people are just bragging, for heaven's sakes.
I like the bragging.
Exactly. You're incentivizing everybody else. Okay, Matt.
Yes to all. I have not submitted yet.
I appreciate the honesty, Matt. Okay, Jesse Greenwald.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Candace.
Yes to all submitted.
Thank you. David. Haluka.
Yes to all.
Great. Frank.
Yes to all.
Josephine.
Yes to all.
Yadira.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thank you. Carrie.
No to one, yes to the rest.
Lowell.
I am present, not eligible on BLP items 5 through 11, and yes to the rest.
Great. Thank you, Lowell. Blake.
Yes to all.
Bert.
Yes to all.
Christopher.
Yes to all.
Betty.
Yes to all.
Sarah.
Don't believe she's here.
Okay, fair enough. Tina Nelson.
Okay, I'm probably going to screw this up. Yes to all except when it comes to the budget, number 3, and anything relating to the migrant crisis. I'm going to have to be a P&E.
Okay, so you're yes on the budget, except for those where you're P&E.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Mike.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thank you, Mike. JD.
Yes to all.
Great. Maria.
Thanks, Jesse, for sending that again. I am yes to all. Statement of district needs. Item number 30, I am P&E because I work here at Ryan Chelsea.
And is that, sorry, expense or?
I'm sorry, that's number 30 in expense.
Oh, 30, yeah, okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Alan.
Yes to all.
Brad.
Good evening. Yes to all. Thank you.
Great. Joe.
Yes to all. Item 29, budget, capital 1 and 2, P&E.
Thank you. Sabrina.
So I am yes to all except P&E for the whole budget district, as I work for OMB. So all of these requests will go to OMB, so P&E.
Dolores.
That's my favorite P&E for the budget. Thanks, Sabrina.
Yes to all.
Thank you. David Solnick. No. Okay. Myself, yes to all. Charlie.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Kit. Okay. Hector.
Yes to all and submitted.
Wow. Thanks, Hector. Rena.
Yes to all.
Thank you. James Wallace. All right. David Warren.
Yay to all. I'm having a hard time finding the vote sheet, but when I find it, I'll vote.
All right. We appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
To you too. And Leslie Williams, our hero of the reading things carefully this evening.
Aren't you special? No to one and yes to the rest.
Great. Thank you. Carl Wilson.
Yes to all.
Thank you, Carl. Alice.
Yes to all.
Lovely. And Jeffrey to finish it off.
With a complicated answer, Katie.
Okay.
I'm yes to all.
Mhm.
Present not eligible on 4, 18, 22. And on the budget, I'm present not eligible to expense number 23 regarding housing conservation coordinators.
Okay. All right. I think that's it from us.
Did we miss anybody?
Well,
Well, it is a
Motion
good
to
point to
adjourn.
remind everybody that it is a, oh, sorry, Katie, go ahead.
No, it's Dolores. I just said motion to adjourn. Sorry.
Oh, all I was going to say is, Dolores, I was following your role as chair when you would encourage us all to make your plan to vote, because we are in election season and early voting is happening and election day is next Tuesday. So, Dolores, I'll now entertain that motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I already voted, so that's why I forgot. So
We can remind people up till Tuesday, so I wanted to do that.
thank you for that. Motion to adjourn.
And a second. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.